about 4.5 years ago now, I became a born-again Christian. And I know that's not a remarkable thing just in itself, that the Lord would love me and save me just like anyone else. But maybe for a couple of reasons, it was and it has been remarkable. But one of those reasons is that I'm a well-known person. I'm not as well-known as I'd like to be, but I'm working on it. The other reason is that I had been a drug addict for a long time. I was living out in California. It was around Christmas time, and I can't remember if Gloria called me or if I called her, but we were on the telephone talking together, and she sounded really like she felt good, sounded like she was happy. And I said, and it kind of upset me because I didn't want her to feel good without me. And I said, well, you sound like you feel great. And she said, well, I do. And I said, well, tell me about it because I really could use something. And she said, well, B, something has happened here. And I'm not going to tell you about it on the telephone. But if you'll come home, there's help for you here. And I said, well, I'm not coming home. 2 days later, I was home. Because they had become born-again Christians, and they and a church full of people were praying for me, and I didn't really stand a chance at that point. Anyway, I walked into this guy's house, and I felt the same peaceful feeling, and in his house I saw the same glow around his wife and his kids, and it just something started telling me in my mind that I was going to find my way out. Well, he finally got home, Jim did, about 11:30 that night. And by the time he got there, I want to tell you, I was really ready to hear what he had to say. And so he started telling me about the Lord and telling me about Jesus. And I said, well, I just have to say, I believe I know why you're telling me all this is because you want me to quit taking drugs. And man, I just can't do that. And he said, well, you don't have to. And I said, He said, man, I'm telling you that there's a real and true and living God up there who sent his only son to die for you so that you don't have to do anything but just come as you are and let Jesus do the rest. Well, it sounded so real to me. And I guess my heart was just ready, but it sounded so real to me. And I just bowed my head before the Lord. And I told him that I believed in him, and I asked his son Jesus to be my Savior. And I got born again. But I think I went a step further. I just asked the Lord to let me remember every morning when I got up who I was and where I came from. And as I look in the mirror most mornings, I'm my own best testimony of Jesus Christ because I know that I should be dead. I had tried so many different things. I'd been to the psychiatrist, man. I spent the summer by the lake. I've been locked up. They came and got me, and I went and gave up. But nothing ever seemed to work. As I stand before you, I am an example of what Jesus Christ and his grace can do in an impossible situation, in a hopeless situation. All my life I leaned on different things. When I was a kid, I leaned on my big brother, and as I grew older, I leaned on music and I leaned on drugs. But I want you to know that it wasn't until I leaned on Jesus Christ that I found my way back home.